Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Hardwood Nation podcast with your boy, CL Anthony, and my main man, Bryce Ward. Bryce, what is new? It feels like we haven't done this in a while.
Man, I haven't been getting too much sleep lately, so yeah, I had to cancel last week just to get some rest. But I mean, it's just life changes, man. Little changes to your daily routine. It's just an adjustment time for me. But everything's good. Everybody's healthy. That's all I can say, and I'm happy for that. So glad to be back today, for sure.
Of course, as always, we got some shit to get into. So last night, the Los Angeles Lakers defeated the Indiana Pacers to become the first ever NBA in-season tournament champions. So, your thoughts on the tournament as a whole? I still think it was completely unnecessary, but just give me your thoughts on the tournament as a whole.
I was more interested than I thought, and I think the NBA got the results they wanted, which was just added interest this time of the year, numbers. Let's not not understand what the NBA wanted. They wanted numbers, they wanted viewers, they wanted extra money, right? That's what all of this was for, because to add interest in the early part of the season when people are still watching football more. So everything I'm hearing, though, I don't have the exact numbers, but it turns out I'm pretty sure it was a big success for the NBA. So I think they'll tweak it a little going forward, maybe in terms of incentives or just the scheduling of games or something, or maybe how they do the courts. The courts, some of them were okay, but some were so atrocious they were distracting. Like the Bulls, the Bulls court was like all red. That was a bit much. Anyways, I found myself as the games went on caring more about the games than I thought I would, and I was kind of just waiting to see what the general reaction was going to be, just see how things come about naturally with the tournament, since it is new, and it's not necessarily new for other sports in other areas. It's just not something American sports do all that much. So I was actually listening to a UK podcast about the Magic, and they just brought up the tournament at some point, just in general. And their take on it was way more like, oh, yeah, this is just normal, because it's something that they see a lot in Premier League soccer. So overall, I would say it was a success, and I cared more about it than I thought I would. Like, there was interest in the games, there was hype in the games. So overall, I think it went well.
You ready? You ready?
Yeah, it's okay not to care about it, but it was a success from their standpoint.
Yeah, you ready? Okay. Sounds like you're ready. Okay. As a basketball purist, I hate any changes that are made to the game. I absolutely, I still hate the advertisements on the jerseys. I hate it. Okay. The in season tournament is completely useless. All right. Now, I will say this. The way it was executed, it worked. I actually did see players give a shit, which goes back to the point that players should give a shit all the time. An in-season tournament should not make you care more so than a typical regular season game that could impact playoff seeding. So that's like the bigger issue of why the NBA did this. Yes, the NBA did it for money, because God knows, we know the NBA loves money. But also they did it so these regular season games would still count in the standings, would mean more. So I get it. So from that standpoint, it was successful, because we did see players. I saw Julius Randle one night go Quasar. I'm like, the fuck? Julius Randle? The fuck? With that said, I have to throw a couple of shots. Kudos to the Indiana Pacers for knocking out the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks on their way to facing the Lakers in the finals of the in-season tournament. And this is
Halliburton's been
why
playing amazing.
Halliburton is amazing. But this is why this is so significant. No matter if it's the playoffs, an important game, or the in-season tournament, Boston and Milwaukee will still give us the same fucking results, and they can still be punked by a hard-nosed team, which Indiana just showed us this year, which Miami has showed us in past years. Not a good look for those teams. Not a good look. As far as the Lakers are a threat in the Western Conference. A healthy LeBron and a healthy AD is all you need to push any team to the brink. So kudos to the Lakers and kudos to LeBron for winning the MVP of the first in-season tournament. My question to you, because we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast, this article, I'm going to read the headline. LeBron James wins in-season tournament MVP. Then in quotations, no jealousy from AD. What the fuck is this? Like, what narrative are they trying to spin here? What's going on? I know you saw
The
the
article
interview.
from.
This is from ESPN.
Well, it's hard. I don't take a lot of what ESPN puts out too seriously anymore because it does feel a lot like it's just clickbaity. That's just my initial reaction, especially to this. It's just someone trying to. It's like stir the pot of the locker room that they're not a part of. That they're not. They're just. These kind of things bother me. It really is just them trying to get clicks and trying to make something up out of nothing. I think it was the perfect, like you say the NBA, if they could, they would have LA and Boston every year in the finals.
Yeah, they would.
Right. Having LeBron in LA in the finals was probably like one of the best case scenarios for the NBA. Boston and Milwaukee is funny, of course, because but we do see them as a little bit softer, as I think some will say at least. But the first thing that popped into my head when you said that was, of course, I remember when the Magic played the Pacers a little bit before some of this in-season stuff got going, and the Magic just completely smothered them. So that was my it was a bit insightful to see how the Pacers were able to play against these other top-tier teams, quote unquote, and then, but the way the Pacers play and the way the Magic play, two totally different systems. Pacers have arguably one of the best offenses of all time, and they were able to really just outwill Boston and Milwaukee, and we're continuing to see teams do that. And so it's just interesting to see also how the Magic have handled Indiana aside from that. But
Right.
I'm not getting into that right now. I'm just saying Indiana looked great throughout the tournament, and they're going to be a problem in the East in the playoffs. Who do you think? This is a little bit of like a side note. Who do you think gets upset in the East faster? Do you think it's Milwaukee or do you think it's Boston?
It all depends on the playoff matchups, of course, because I'm going to put Indiana in that same category as I put Miami. And what I mean by that is that no one wants to see that team in the first round. Okay. Bill Simmons just said yesterday Miami is still the team to beat in the East. So whoever matches up first with either Miami or Indiana, be it Boston or Milwaukee, is going to be the one who's going to be upset first. Okay. This tournament, as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned, and this is taking nothing away from Indiana, this was actually, I believe, more important for Milwaukee to get through just because of the off-season changes that they made. And they were just bullshitting through it, man. It's just like both teams have been exposed, but now that they're being exposed by another team who just went in there and was like, we don't give a fuck who's on the court. We're going to beat you, because that's the mindset that Indiana brought in. And that's from Rick Carlisle on down, because we both know, one, Rick Carlisle is a great coach, and he doesn't give a fuck who's on the other team. That man is a fucking fantastic coach. If people don't think that Milwaukee and Boston have been exposed now, they're fucking idiots. they're no one thought the Indiana Pacers was going to win this. I mean, go to the finals of this in-season tournament and go through two contenders to do it in a one game takes all. That's just not as fucking. This one game takes all. You mean to tell me that Boston or Milwaukee couldn't put it together for one game to beat the Indiana Pacers?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are supposed to be the darlings of the conference? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, Miami didn't get there, but we got two of our starters out right now, Bam and Tyler Hero. I get it. We're injured. Boston's not injured. Milwaukee's not injured. And they let Indiana punk them like that?
It's a good time to be an up-and-coming team in the East. I'll say that much. But to get back to your initial question, how do you feel about this article, though? Because it just seems like it's nothing to me, of course.
It's bullshit. It is bullshit. And like I said, I don't know who. I'm going to read what LeBron said. I don't know who asked LeBron the question, but I want to be clear here. I'm not talking about LeBron James. He just asked the question that was posed to him. But the question should have never been posed to him. So let me read this. So LeBron said last night after winning the MVP, I know who I am. He knows who he is. And he's talking about Anthony Davis. And they're saying, he's been with Anthony Davis for 5 years, longer than he's been with his other teammates, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. He said, so there's no friction. We're not trying to compete with one another on the court or on a lifestyle basis. He knows who he is. I know who I am. He said, the only thing we're trying to do is hold each other accountable when we get to work and try to be the best we can be for each other. And when one is not going well, try to pick each other up. There's no jealousy. There's not a jealous bone in our bodies. We're never jealous of one another ever. That was a good answer to the question. Like, LeBron James has absolutely no reason to be jealous of any other person walking the face of this earth, nor does Anthony Davis. So I didn't understand this title. Like you said, it was clickbait, no jealousy. No. Like, why? Why are we even talking about this? Anthony Davis has had a strong season overall. Generally, he's been healthy. He's had a strong season. LeBron James, for his age, can be arguably said he's had a stronger season for his age. So they're both playing great. And like I said, it's going to be hard to knock Denver out. The Lakers have the best shot at knocking Denver out. So that's what should they stay healthy? They have the best shot. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but they have the best shot should the Lakers stay healthy.
What do you think the ceiling is for Minnesota this year?
So Minnesota is still number one in the Western Conference. Here's my thing. So we just talked a little bit about Milwaukee, and we just talked a little bit about Boston, who have both been number one seeds and who have failed. So I don't give a fuck about what Minnesota's doing in the regular season. I would give them slow claps for the regular season, but you have to prove it in the playoffs. So we just have to wait and see.
That's why I said, what do you think their ceiling is for the playoffs this year?
I don't think they hold on to the number one spot, to be honest with you. I think someone's going to creep up. So let's just take a very quick peek at the Western.
Do you think they make it to the conference finals? Or do you
Absolutely
think they not? Okay. That's why I'm asking. Absolutely. Like, that's why I'm trying to see, like, not necessarily who they have to go through yet, but what do you think? Where do you think they land ultimately?
Yeah, we don't know. Of course, we don't know who they have to go through just yet. But so they're number one. Surprisingly, the Oklahoma City Thunder are number two, and we're going to get into that a little later. So then you have Dallas, Denver, the Lakers, and the Kings as your top six. Okay. So if the playoffs were to start today, fuck the play-in. Minnesota and Houston would play each other in the first round. Minnesota would get through Houston, okay? In the second round, Minnesota would have to play the winner of the Lakers and Denver. Because if the playoffs were to start today, the Lakers and Denver would be a first round matchup. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, right?
What it's worth, Jamal Murray has missed some time and he's back healthy. I do suspect Denver probably climbs, of course.
They will. They will. But let's just say the playoffs started today.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota would get through Houston in the first round. They would be annihilated in the second round by either the Lakers or Denver.
Okay.
Whoever comes out of that series will beat Minnesota. So, no, I don't see Minnesota going to the conference finals at all. But next year could be a possibility. I mean, dude, they've won 6 straight games. They're balling right now. You know what I'm saying? Let me just take a quick peek at the East. The Magic are holding strong at number 2. Miami's in the play.
Which I do not think they will hold on to by any means. Let me make that clear as well. I do think the Magic can be a playoff team. I don't think they're number 2 in the East the whole season.
I would say, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, I'll give them top. I think they're going to be in the top 4. From what I've seen from them already, I think they're going to be in the top 4. All right. So, yeah, I'm giving you love today. Look, I'm giving LeBron James love. I'm giving the Magic love. You know, look, Miami's going to be fine when Bam comes back and when Tyler comes back, we're going to be good. Yeah.
You guys are fine. You know what I say? Winning solves everything. You can't say anything against Braun and the Lakers when they're winning the in-season tournament, when they've been climbing the rankings. And you can't say anything to the Magic because they've been winning games. The other fan bases do not like losing to the Magic.
Because they're not.
They hate it, they think this is overnight. They'll shout whatever injuries they have at us. Like we don't have 3 starters out, and that we haven't had the worst injury luck in like the last 5 years. They act like it's just all new, and that we haven't waited a decade for just a little bit of winning. And now that we're getting it, they're not happy. So it's fun time.
I'm gonna say this. You've heard this story before. I became a Heat fan in 1995 by virtue of a bet on who would win between a Magic and a Heat game. Okay, the Heat were lucky and won that game. Good choice.
Yeah.
You, Cortez, Gerald, all my Magic. Even though Gerald likes to claim he's a Heat fan, he's not. Get the fuck out of here. All my diehard Magic fans know, and even my son know that if I wasn't a Heat fan, I would be an Orlando Magic fan. And I watch the Magic closely, of course, because they're the closest team to me, so I have to. This has been 3.5 years in the making of what they're doing right now. We thought they might have could have done it last year, but they got injured again. So this is not really a surprise to you or to Cortez or to any diehard Magic fan who's seen the pieces put together, who's seen Jamal Mosley, Coach of the Month, come into his own as a head coach, which he's done. The team is fantastic. They enjoy playing with each other. They enjoy playing the game. They enjoy their coach. Everything is firing on all cylinders right now for the Magic. The one thing I will say, we're in what? We're about to hit 2024. Alex Martin said by 2030, you guys are going to have a championship. And God knows, I've ripped that man for 10 years. Let me say this. If the Orlando Magic win a championship by 2030, I will make like a Alex Martin shirt saying that he's the GOAT or some shit like that, and I will wear it on
Alex
the
Martin
podcast.
Ended up being right. That's all it's just that one thing he ended up being right.
Bro, I've ripped him for so long, bro.
Everything you said was right. It's just been hard to wait to get to this point. And when the Magic started off so hurt last year, we weren't as deep of a team. We went 5-20 because of those injuries. This year we've been able to still create a very tough home atmosphere. And we've been able to capitalize even against good teams at home. And we have a winning or 500 record on the road. So it's still not like we're terrible on the road, but we've built up some confidence. And the fact that Paolo and Franz, which are the 2 real key elements going forward, you could argue Suggs too, because of he's basically the heart of the team, but Franz and Paolo being 21 and 22, when Alex Martins, like you said, what was the date he said we'd have a championship by?
2030.
2030. In the next 2 to 3 seasons is when we'll see those guys get closer to their prime, and that's when the Magic will really be a title contender again. Once that they'll have the rough spots on the roster filled out in the next couple of seasons to make their final decisions on what they're going to do. But Paolo and Franz just because they don't play like Jalen and Brown, or Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. They don't play like them and take turns. They play better off each other. And so I think just going forward with those two guys, I think they'll put themselves in like a great position to win. I don't think it's not this year. I think we skipped a step and we went from play-in to we're a legit playoff team, but that doesn't make up for the lack of playoff experience yet. So I think we're a few years away from being like, actual contenders. But the fact that our two best players are so young, 2-3 seasons away from now, they're going to be legit contenders. I think, and that's a good feeling to have.
2 or 3 seasons, you think?
Mm-hmm. To get the playoff experience, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because they have to take their steps. Okay.
Not in terms of where we rank in the East, but like real playoff experience, like that. That's the only thing. We've been to the conference finals. It's been a long time. We've been to the championship. It's just been a while. We need a championship, so it's gonna take a while to figure that out and get there.
I would say the Magic are next in line as far as NBA teams who should win a championship, and I know that a lot of the nation wouldn't believe so because they just don't know the bullshit that you guys have been through. But yeah, I say the Magic would be next in line for that. So, moving right along, Josh Giddy is still playing. I do know there was a slight spike in coverage over the past week or so. Stephen A. Smith famously came on TV and said that he's not going to speak on it because he doesn't want to be sued, which was absolute bullshit. Because all you have to do is throw out the word allegedly and you're okay. So we're going to talk a little more about the alleged allegations with Josh Giddy. So that way everyone's on the same page. So really quick, there are two sides to this. Some people feel like there should be more coverage over it. Some people feel like we should wait until we know all of the facts. So we've had a couple of conversations about this offline. I feel like this deserves as much coverage as some other incidents that has happened in the NBA. Where do you fall on
that? Well, so over the course of when we found out about the story and been talking about it, I've seen the topic come up on certain podcasts I've listened to, and not necessarily looking into it in depthly, but the fact that they brought it up and it was like, but we're basically just waiting to see what happens more because there's a lot of allegedlys thrown around, right? But the interesting thing for me was I also listened to a lot of non-basketball podcasts. I listened to Flagrant with Andrew Schultz, the guy's podcast name you tried to steal allegedly.
No. We actually had it first. Just saying, we had it first.
Anyways, they brought it up on their podcast, and so I was listening to them, and it was a lot of he's kind of dumb because he's an NBA player and he could have anything, but there's a lot of this isn't over. This isn't, there is a lot of allegedlys in here. And so they made jokes about it and such, but it wasn't necessarily them condemning him because also his age, but it was more like, he's just an idiot. And so even from that aspect, a non-basketball podcast who they talk about anything and everything, they did talk about it, but not so much as being like decisive on, what the outcome should be and stuff. Just that, like I said, he's kind of dumb. But so that was kind of eye-opening too, because I know you feel like it should have been more covered already, but I still think that's to come. And I do feel like, I know we talked about it offline the other day. There have been some other situations that did take a while to get drawn out, and so that's what I'm waiting on. I'm just not so gung ho. Like, we'll just wait and see what happens. I think the amount of allegedly's really plays into why it hasn't been more covered yet. But that's come, as we know, details are coming, and I believe it will be covered more once these details come out. Once we find out more.
So I'm not. I'm not worried about being sued, quite frankly, because we're not big enough to be sued. What are you gonna do? Take my fucking page down? So when I speak of coverage, I'm speaking of the mainstream media. Okay, not taking anything away from Schultz and the fake Charlemagne the God. I'm speaking of mainstream media, ESPN, Fox Sports, who drives the narrative, right?
Mhm.
So with that said, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong because I work a lot. I haven't seen Skip Bayless touch this a lot. Of course, I mentioned Stephen A. Smith, his bullshit reason for not touching it. I haven't seen the Inside the NBA crew touch on this a lot. Yeah, Charles, I'm calling you out. And Malika Andrews, she read a statement on it, and she actually talked to Commissioner Silver about it briefly, and he gave the typical commissioner answer. My question is Ja Morant was all over the news for something that wasn't even technically illegal. They talked about this for days. Kyrie Irving was all over the news for a fucking retweet of a tweet that wasn't even his.
Mhm.
He lost games. Ja Morant lost games. I'm not even saying Josh Giddy should lose any money, but if I'm the team, he's not playing. He can still get his checks, but he's not playing until they get this shit resolved. Now, as you said, there are a lot of allegedlys out there. Allegedly. We don't know how old the girl was. We don't know if the girl lied to get into the fucking. We don't know any of that. This is what we know. And this is the most damning part. There's a snap sent out with this young lady, with Josh Giddy standing behind her, from the torso up with no clothes on, and the snap read, "I just fucked Josh Giddy."
Mhm.
Now, what we don't know is the age of this young lady. We do know he's an idiot for putting himself in that situation. We do know that the parents allegedly wasn't cooperating with the law. But the parents did something last week which should scare the fuck
Mhm.
out of Josh Giddy. Okay? Let me bring it up here. And I know a lot of people haven't reported this. I haven't seen this on too many of the national, the national media.
And now, though, it looks like they weren't working with the police officials because I would think if they hired this lawyer, they just wanted to make sure they didn't say the wrong thing.
Miss Gloria Allred. People who know. Respectfully, this bitch doesn't give a fuck. Okay? She generally represents the families of sexual abuse or assault victims. She is a high-powered lawyer out of California, very, very, very famous. If I'm Josh Giddy, I'm afraid. Now, usually what she does is, and this is just for me watching her, following her career, forgive me. She will take the victims and put them in front of a TV camera and let them read statements of exactly what happened point for point. Now, if this young lady is still a minor, she's not going to put the young lady on camera, but she will put the young lady's parents eventually on camera detailing what was going on between Giddy and this young lady. He should be very, 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 very afraid. So, seeing this, does this change your mindset at all about? Because first first of all, it's like, okay, maybe it was consensual. Maybe the young girl, maybe the family was okay with it, right? When we first heard it, the family wasn't cooperating with the law. But now with this bomb, and it is a bombshell, with this bombshell, it kind of sways my opinion a little bit to say, okay, they're going to take him down because this woman don't play. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd be worried if I was him. This isn't the best sign, of course. This looks like things are about to heat up. And what we say, what we've always said is like, where there's smoke, there's fire, kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, this is looking to finally maybe it's gonna amp up. We're gonna start to see more details come out about it. It doesn't look good for him right now. So I definitely feel like once it starts to progress, we'll start seeing the real punishments come out, like sitting and not playing. I don't know about fines, but maybe just being released by the team eventually, kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know how fast the legal proceedings are going to happen, but I mean, with the lawyer that they have, we'll be getting updates. We'll be getting like detailed updates, like you said, maybe even from the parents at some point in front of the cameras about what's going on. So it won't be too much longer, and people will have to cover it, and then the team will have to make a decision about what to do with him. Right now, I think they've been sitting back and they think they know some of the details about it, but I think they're about to get hit with more trouble. So we'll see. I don't think people will have a choice but to cover it soon.
Uncomfortableness. When you make people uncomfortable, that's what promotes change. Okay. I think if I was Miss Allred, I would parade.
You muted yourself.
No, the computer did it. We're having
Okay.
technical difficulties. So if I was Miss Allred, I would actually parade the family out around Christmas time and make people very uncomfortable. Like I would, not on Christmas Day, but maybe Christmas Eve or the day before. That's how you do it. That's because if you wait till New Year's, no one gives a fuck, right? No one's gonna be uncomfortable around New Year. You gotta make people uncomfortable. Okay. So that's how you do that. So I would suspect within the next 2 weeks we will see some movement on this. My issue is that this is my issue. It's almost like the NBA picks and chooses when they want to put the hammer down and when they don't. And again, I'm not saying this kid should lose any money or anything like that right now. I'm just saying the kid shouldn't be playing. Now, the head coach of the Thunder said, oh, well, we're going to play him. It's up to the NBA to sit him. Okay, so sit the fucking kid. Because again, Ja Morant lost 25 games. And don't get me wrong, he's a fucking idiot. I'm not on his side. He's a fucking idiot, don't get me wrong. But he lost 25 games for potentially something a lot lesser than this. So
I think Oklahoma City, in hindsight, if this does get worse for Giddy, I think in hindsight this will look worse on the OKC Thunder organization more than anything. I will say this though, the NBA and what they did with Ja, that wasn't overnight either. It was from a half season before, also where the alleged like aggressiveness with a firearm started to come out. Rumors of that, and then all of that stuff got blown up once the videos started to surface of the more recent things that happened with Ja. So, and you even thought Ja should have got a heavier suspension.
Right. So with
but
that said,
it did take a long time for any of that to come out compared to like the recent stuff blew up the old stuff, but there had been other situations that happened way before Ja ever got in trouble. I mean, he basically went a whole season without getting anything.
Your job was still protected by the Second Amendment too.
Mhm.
So with that said, yes, I thought Ja should have been suspended for the remainder of. I thought he should have been suspended for the whole year. So with that said, what do you think I think should happen to Giddy?
Well, probably just. I mean,
Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. What do you? If I was that strong against Ja, who didn't break a law, how strong do you think I'm going to
I
be
think
against
I
Giddy?
think if Giddy gets convicted or makes a deal or something, then the NBA. See, the thing is, if he makes a plea deal, I don't know how the NBA is going to react to that. I
Mhm.
still think he should be suspended, but I think if it's come out that he's really actually, if they give a court or whatever and he's found guilty, I think he's done, kind of thing, where he's suspended. It he might not be allowed back in the league, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
he might be. Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how the legal battles play out, because then it will maybe just come down to the team in the NBA. And if he's not coming out as guilty, or if he gets a guilty plea, that's two different situations, even though we all know what he did. So the NBA has to be careful with how they deal with this, because it could be looked at like it's way too light. And then they're picking and choosing how they're dealing with these situations. So
Mhm.
it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out, even from the OKC perspective, because of where they are, and who they are as an organization compared to maybe some of these other teams in high profile areas. Like, you brought up the Kyrie Irving situation, and I think if he hadn't had a history of pissing off the wrong people and then being in Brooklyn, I think that situation, like maybe if he's in OKC or Dallas now, I think maybe that situation goes a little differently. I'm
He
not
didn't break
saying
any
it's
law.
right or wrong or fair. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think there's a lot more that has to come out for the results that we think should happen to Giddy, for that to actually like happen. As because of where they are, because of the organization, unfortunately. Um, and then the NBA will have to respond too. So we just gonna have to wait and see.
Right. So, despite where he played, Kyrie didn't break any laws.
Mm.
Now, if the parents wasn't cooperating with the law and had never hired Gloria Allred, it would have been very hard to prove that Josh Giddy had sex with an underage girl. It would have been hard to prove.
Mm.
But seeing the move that they made, that tells me that there's something coming to where, like I said, there's going to be a statement, a victim statement. Now, again, she's not gonna put the alleged victim on camera because she's
Mm.
not even 18 yet, as far as I know. So the victim's not gonna be on camera. But if those parents get on camera and speak for the victim, he has to be sacked immediately.
Mm.
Now, I do know when they've been playing, other teams have booed him. I know the first night the Thunder cheering him and stood up and all this bullshit. Shame on them. Shame on those fans.
Mm.
Shame on those fans. Because some of them have daughters. I have a daughter. You have a daughter. I've been through a situation with my daughter that I wouldn't wish for my worst enemy. So yeah, this is personal for me. It is. Okay. Um, Shame on those people for cheering him and rooting him where there's a potential crime that was committed. Let's just be real with it. Let's just be real with it. So I fully expect the NBA, once this victim statement is read, to drop the hammer on him. Is it anything personal? No. I don't have anything against OKC. I don't have anything against Josh Giddy or Australians or Caucasians. I don't. But should the NBA not levy a harsh punishment on this, then we have to have other questions that we need to ask as to why. Because I'm telling you, if I was running the OKC Thunder when this news leaked out, he would have been sat that day. He still could have got paid. I still would have paid him. but you're not going to be with the team and you're not going to travel with the team until this is all cleared out. That's because think about the victims, the alleged victims and their families still seeing this kid on TV every night. How do you think they feel? It sucks. It really sucks. So that's the standpoint that I come from when I say he needs to be sat. It's not necessarily, oh, well, Ja was sat because he waved a gun, or Kyrie was sat because he retweeted a tweet that wasn't even his. It's the standpoint that this kid potentially has done worse. And every time the alleged victim or her family sees him on television, because we know the NBA is everywhere right now, they can be victimized all over again mentally. That's where I come from as far as he needs to be sat until things are, you get your check, stay at the hotel, fuck whoever you want of age, get fat. I don't care. You're just not going to be with the team and you're not going to be seen visually until this gets wrapped up.
I think from that perspective, the problem all falls on the team for now. That they should have been the one to make that decision.
Right. Yeah. They as of right now, they've made the wrong decision. So shame on them. Where's my lady off the Game of Thrones? Shame.
Hey, Cersei got her back though, pretty bad. So
Cersei got everybody back. So with that said, we're gonna wrap up this week's episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Yeah, we got some more subscribers in the past month or so, so we appreciate y'all. We see y'all. We appreciate you. Drop those comments below. Everyone get ready for this Christmas Day game coming up soon. Stay safe, and we are out.